What?
Yeah. Razor, yeah. I'm just kidding. Oh my God.
That's gonna be the cold open for this episode. Yeah. Okay.
Like, obviously, 4 plus 4 is 4, but like,
Four
how
plus
do we
4 is
know
8,
why? Or
actually.
sorry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Digital Dopamine podcast. I'm your host, Riley Schmitz, and this is my good friend, Chris. Chris, tell us a bit about yourself.
Whoa, I don't know if I was ready for that question. Hi, everyone. Thanks for. Oh, sorry, my bad. We'll restart that. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris. Thanks, Riley, for having me on your podcast today. I'm a final semester student at SAIT in the IDD program, specialized in user experience. I have a background in marketing. What else is there? Also a small business owner and I dance. There you go. That's a little TLDR for me.
Lovely. Thank you for that explanation. What inspired you to pursue a career in design?
Damn, this is kind of a long story. I was originally in marketing for a couple years. For a couple years, whoa. I always knew that I wanted to do something a little bit more creative. So that's why I was actually in my marketing degree. And then when I finished it, I was like, okay, maybe I'll like do something with like dance. I think I finished my degree and went straight to working. Nope, I had an internship at Neo Financial. And then when I finished my degree, luckily, I had another internship with the city of Calgary, and then I was working full time. And then throughout that time, I was basically helping small business owners, but I just really wanted to take more creative freedom. I think that's like where I was still able to do that through dance while doing a career in marketing, but I after doing that for like 3 years, I was like, damn, I don't know if I want to keep doing this in the cubicle all day, 24/7, and working with corporate people in the public sector. So I saw this program. When was it? Oh, I saw this program supposedly when my program at where I was working for in the municipal government was ending. And then I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll just like go back because this is something that I always wanted. I saw user experience and I was like, hey, this is something that will allow me to like have more freedom to work remotely and still kind of like, live life and travel because that's something that I wanted to do and still like be hands on with something creatively at least. And then so I took the program and then now I'm here. Yeah,
Sweet. And here we are.
now we're here.
Okay. So, marketing, that obviously helps you a lot in your user experience design, would you say?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's like a lot. Actually, I think there's a lot in marketing, but I feel like it's more so my psych and sociology class
Right.
that I took during my marketing degree that helped me a lot with user experience because I feel like with user experience it's more so like understanding like why people prefer things over the daily things that they use or like why people decide to switch over. Like I feel like there's so much like psychology behind it which I actually enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, do you think starting into user experience came naturally to you, or were there a few road bumps?
Like, oh, starting user experience as in like the course,
Yes.
taking the courses.
Yes, or just yeah, yeah. That's what I meant.
Mm. I would say like yes and no. Like I think it helps with like me knowing. I think it helps with kind of the design thinking aspect of things, but there's definitely a lot. I wouldn't say monotonous because I feel like that's part of the journey for like learning how to design and like design thinking, of course. But I would say like yes and no. Like there's definitely a lot more detail towards it that really didn't expect that comes with user experience. Granted, I feel like I know more about user research a little bit more than the design aspect
Right.
of things for now.
Okay, for now, of course.
Yeah, regarding like
Yeah,
the
because how
program
people
itself.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. And what does your typical design process look like
Ooh,
when you're starting something new? How do you go
when I'm
about it?
designing.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like there's like a lot of research. Like when I'm designing something new, usually I have to like pull inspiration from like others. I feel like it's very closely related to the way I make choreography. So definitely a lot of like pulling inspiration and having to kind of, there's so many iterations. Like I feel like there's hundreds of iterations, and I don't really, sometimes I feel like I work backwards in the sense of like, instead of like taking small miniature steps, I do the big picture first and then I add the detail after. Whereas like I feel some people may be opposed to that and they start off with like doing like the smaller things first. But I feel like once I have my bigger picture and the skeleton, then I can kind of refine it after. And then from there, I can kind of decide whether or not like, oh, if it's, if I should like totally pivot and change the whole thing, or if I should continue like building off that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. When you're working on anything super creative, how do you overcome creative blocks?
I feel like I go in creative blocks all the time. I think what helps me is like honestly just kind of taking a break and doing other things. Like I remember, similar to making choreography, sometimes I just need to listen to a different song after because I've listened to the same song for like 50 times. Or honestly like usually I just like watch a YouTube video, honestly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Like
like
if I
a
can
random
get my,
one or
no,
related?
like, oh, I don't know if it would necessarily like be random because it's like my YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, that's true.
But a lot of it is usually creatives, but in the vlogging space. So honestly, I think right now it's a lot of like interior designing or other marketing vloggers. So Angel Zhang is like a really good one on YouTube that I follow, and she's just like worked with really big creators, but she's also kind of like a influencer. But she talks about her tools that she uses in marketing as a freelancer, but still directing like companies who still need their marketing to be done. So that's really cool. Or oh, there's another guy. He is Japanese. It's like I forgot his name,
We'll
but
find the channel after.
I
It's
can
linked
like
here.
put it in this.
Yeah.
I'll like it'll be linked above somewhere here. But yeah, a lot of like interior designing or like content related things
That's
that are
neat.
not related to like user experience design at all.
Right. Okay, so
Yeah.
not directly related, but still something to
Yeah.
in the
It's like
creative field.
for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
I think like just me being able to see those things kind of like sparks like, oh, I wonder like why they think like that, or like I wonder how they added this visual effect to the whole video,
Right.
to their whole vlog that they made. Like that is able to spark something and like, oh, in me that I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe I can play around with these different aspects in design.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, would you say that curiosity is what motivates you then?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I never really thought about it like that. I would say like, yeah, I'm like very curious. Like I always kind of have to question the why to things. So like I remember in elementary, instead of like, it's like very logical, of course,
Mhm.
but like for me, I kind of have to know like, oh, why do we do that, instead of
Yeah.
like okay, like obviously 4 plus 4 is 4, but like
Four
how
plus
do we
four is
know
8,
why? Or
actually.
sorry, 4 plus 4 is not
Wait a
4.
second.
4 plus 4 is 8. Oh yeah, so like logically, no, it doesn't actually.
Okay.
See, that's why I'm not a math. Yeah, so we obviously know that 4 plus 4 is 8, but like for me as a kid, it was like, oh, but like, how do we know that? Like, why do we do that? Why do we not do any any other thing than
Interesting.
that?
Sounds
I
like
just
you
felt
were a
like,
dumb kid.
wow, that's so mean. No, but if you're able to for sure like ask the why to things, then I think you're able to expand your point of view from other people, and you can never like, no one's point of view from other people can ever make you like shake your own opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It does make sense. When I talked to Tina on the show, we were talking about how so many people grow out of their curiosity. Jesus. But yeah, I think that's really admirable that you're still holding on to that and you're able to think like that.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's also because of my mentors too growing up. Like all of my managers that I've had, luckily they're always like, "Oh, you should just like something that they do that used to always piss me off, like in giving feedback is like, so why did you do that?"
Mm.
And sometimes I'd be like,
But
like,
now you do that.
yeah, now I
And
do
I'm
that
just
to
having like a
people.
personal conversation with you. I'm being vulnerable. And why? Why?
Yeah.
But it's also helpful.
Yeah,
So.
it's like if you're able to like answer those things, and that happened to me all the time, and it used to be so frustrating up until like, oh, like like whatever you do, there should at least be some intention to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kind of like wasting your time,
That's very
which
true.
I still think I'm still working on because even like when you're trying to progress some in something or like whatever aspect, it's kind of like a person who spends 5 minutes intentionally thinking about like what they want to grow on will still grow faster and further than someone who spends 30 minutes on something with no intention, with just like no like insight or roadmap on where to go. Yeah.
That's good insight. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of productivity. Why is that funny?
I don't know.
Okay. Are there any tools or techniques that you use to stay on top of tasks? You have ADHD. So how does that work?
I think what helped me recently, well, something that I've always done that has helped me just because I remember I started dancing just like right after high school in a full studio, and I was balancing two studios while doing like a full course load. I just started doing time blocking in my calendar, and that's something that's like helped me like all the time throughout my years, and I think it just became a habit. Before I used to like hate doing that. I don't even know how I managed my time before that, to be honest.
All right.
I think I would just yeah, no, I probably did it. Yeah, time blocking and just like to-do lists. Like I something that I like is just knowing that I've done something and there's like a list of tasks that I can always just like glance at and know like, oh, okay, am I behind on something, or like is there anything that I can do that I can like delegate later on or like start so that I don't have to worry about it later. Yeah, I think it's just those main two. Like I've tried other things where I've like to-do lists on my computer doesn't necessarily work out for me because when I'm working on multiple things, I'll never see it again. But just being able to see like sticky note on my desk, especially like when I'm working, like I'll never forget about it because it's like in my vicinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And does that help your work-life balance at all? Do you have like 1,800 million things going on at all times?
I think it does and it doesn't to some extent. I think it really depends on the type of work that you do. But something that's helped me at least have work-life balance because I'm working with like multiple. At one point, I was working with multiple companies at a given time. Just separating my browser like profiles helped me a lot.
Okay.
Which I think is like also, well, technically, if you work for a company, they should provide you with a laptop, and hopefully that laptop is fast enough for you to like continuously use. And I say that because I used to work for a company and I had I had a Windows laptop. Yeah, I never used it because it was just so damn it's just so damn slow.
Yeah.
But ideally they provide you with a laptop and you use it and you only do the work there. Because I also work remotely, what helped me, I think, is doing my work not in my house. So in my house, like unfortunately, I don't have an office, but I think what works for a lot of people, especially if you have like a hybrid setting, is that just being able to take work not in your bedroom, or like even when you're doing schoolwork, like don't do it in your bedroom because when that's the place where you sleep, and so if you do work there when you sleep, you'll literally just think about work. But yeah, so separating your work from your physical spaces, separating your browser tasks, and like if you can, separating the work from your own personal device is something that would or help me, but unfortunately I don't do that. So
Fair enough. Do you use Arc?
I do
The
use
Arc
Arc.
browser? Yeah, me too.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so helpful. And then you can make it
Yeah.
pretty.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can. I really like Arc. So I really like Arc, but do I use it for like my daily tasks? No, just because like I'm so used to the current UI of Chrome. Well, technically Arc is built on the engine, same engine as Chrome, but the UI is different. I'm just like kind of lazy to switch over. But I learned about Chrome when I went to San Francisco last year, through a stranger actually.
Interesting.
Oh wait, no, not through a stranger, through my friends who used to work for TikTok. Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
apparently, like it started on San Francisco. So if you use Arc, the Arc logo is actually the Golden Gate Bridge. If you guys didn't know,
That's crazy.
yeah. So
That's
it's
so cool.
similar to Cisco. So if you've heard about like Cisco, like the Wi-Fi thing,
Yeah.
their logo is actually also the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it's
Damn.
just like you see the Wi-Fi bars,
Mhm.
and they use that as like the like links in the bridge. Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, it's a little like Easter egg if you didn't know.
That's so interesting. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I also, on the topic of time blocking not helping work-life balance, just to jump back to that, I feel like when I initially tried time blocking, all the time that I wasn't working, I was blocking my time. Like I was organizing my time for the next workday. So, yeah. How do you go about that?
Time blocking?
Yeah, and not having all of your free time spent organizing your time.
Oh, I get that.
This is more for my benefit, actually.
So usually so I think like what kind of works out for me, so for my different accounts that I work for, so for example, the marketing agency that I work for, because it's on a separate email on a separate browser, I just link the email to my Apple Calendar. And then what I do is that if there's any recurring items, like for anything that I do, I just have it repeat weekly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I just have
Yeah,
it
that's smart.
repeat weekly, and then I never have to do it again. But you can also customize it. So I'm not sure if you knew that, but you can have it repeat like bi-weekly on Mondays and Wednesdays, or just like every 2 weeks or whatever.
Cool.
So that helps having to offload. So if there's anything that you do in your daily life that happens usually like every day, I do that. But just usually what helps me too is because like there's always like unexpected things coming up. Just doing it on the spot there rather than like having to do it later, which I'm still working on, especially for billing time, because usually I'm like, oh, I'll remember to do it later, and then by the end of the day I'm kind of like too lazy to block off like to bill my time, and then I push it to the end of the week, and I'm like, wait, how long did it actually take for me to do that? Which they told us in design studio, but I'm still trying to get to that point.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just go for memory by that too.
Yeah, no, it never works.
It's like, did I finish this before lunch or after lunch? Rough estimate goes in. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone struggling with burnout?
So, oh, this is a good question because I feel like I've definitely dealt with burnout so many times. But you actually, when you hit burnout, you're actually already burnt out. Wait, like days before you actually feel it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when somebody says like, "Oh, I feel burnt out," you were already burnt out before you said like that out loud. It's just knowing about like those. We have like super micro things that we do in our lives that we just like it flies by our head, but it's really just starting to know when you start to feel like overwhelmed, like whether that's like so it's like different for everyone, but like the body truly keeps score, which is also a book. So
it's plugged here.
Which is also a book. So like the body stores trauma in different parts of our body, which you probably what did I say that? Like anyway.
No, that makes sense.
Trauma is stored in different parts of our body depending on what type of trauma it is. So same thing with burnout. The feeling of burnout is different for everyone. So for example, you just have to really figure out like what you get triggered by and like how it feels when you actually are in burnout, and you'll start to realize like, oh, when you the time that you feel burnout and like how it feels in your body, you'll start to recognize it faster when you do start to actually feel burnout. So, for example, burnout for me, when I burn out, is like pretty bad, as in the sense of like I truly cannot think and I literally just like want to bawl out tears at that point. And I'm just like,
That resonates with me,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. But the feeling of burnout when I start to recognize it is like, oh, burnout for me is when I'm actually like not when I say yes to a lot of tasks and I feel like I have to handle everything by my own. And then once I started to recognize that, it's like, okay, if I notice that I'm starting to say yes to everything, I just have to reprioritize and delegate tasks better.
Right.
And like that in my body feels like a clouded, like my brain feels clouded. So when I start to feel like my brain feeling clouded and I can't think properly, that's when I'm like, okay, maybe I should watch out for like these
Yeah.
certain things. Or for example, another feeling that I during burnout that I have is when I start to snack on things a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I start to feel like snacky.
Like stress eating?
Yeah, it's almost like stress eating. So when that happens, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should start to look at like how much things I should be taking on because I'm starting to like distract myself by like the stress with eating and stuff.
Right.
And that helps me not get into burnout, which luckily I actually haven't feel even though I was doing like 3 jobs and full-time school, I did not feel burnt out during that time.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it is really impressive, which is also not a flex. Like I'm not trying to say like, oh, I did all of this. Well, at the end, I knew that I was starting to feel like a little bit like irritable.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, maybe I should like take some time to myself because I recognize that I truly haven't had time to just like not like literally be a social person.
Yeah.
Because I would hate to literally be that person where I'm saying like yes to everything and being in a social setting and then being like me knowing that I'm being a party pooper when
Yeah.
I'm the person who decided to say yes when
Yeah.
it's not anyone's like responsibility to be like, oh, like why did you say yes? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what helps me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good thing to motivate you, the social aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
What led you to realize that or be able to recognize those signs?
Oh, like how I realized like, oh, these signs are like burnout for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just like a combination of the settings that I was in. So when I was working for a startup and I was still so I think it was like summer of 2020 or summer of 2021, something like that. And I was working at a startup and this is my first startup. This is my first startup ever. And it was so high paced. But I also granted like I was taking hundreds of calls, hundreds of email in a given day, not knowing like what those KPIs are, but also the pressure of like I don't really have a chance to like take a break because there's so much things in a startup that you have to do. You're like wearing so many hats and everyone's paying you. And I thought I was like, oh, okay, like work life balance. No, I was getting like pinged at like 9 p.m. And then because I was getting pinged at 9 p.m. and it was like a super high important deliverable that was needed to be done the next day, I was literally doing it consistently every time. And I noticed like when I was when I was sleeping, my brain would be trying to like figure out or like solve that problem. And I knew right away like when that happened, I like just never wanted to feel that feeling again because
Yeah.
it's like I'm literally thinking about work when you're sleeping, which is not an okay thing. Like I'm just like having that experience, I realized like, okay, if I'm thinking or dreaming about work in my sleep, I need to leave. Like there's something wrong
Mhm.
that should not be happening. And I think it's just also a combination of like podcasts where they talk about like, oh, how do you reduce burnout but still like perform your best, which is something that's really common for like dancers and choreographers, because it's like you have to provide choreography, your the responsibility of like your students in your class, and you don't have a choice to be like, hey, like especially if it's like for a set, to be like, hey, I'm going to take like a week off, or I'm going to take a couple days off, like that. You don't get that option.
Mm.
Like that's like not possible to do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a combination of like kind of research and listening to others who felt the same way, and through that's how I realized like, okay, I need to be more, what is it proactive,
I think so. Yeah.
at like knowing the signs of burnout before I even like am in burnout, because
Right.
those signs are there.
Yeah. Interesting. I will be taking that advice. I'm learning so much. This is so great. Okay. Moving on to a bit of what inspires you. What would you say inspires you the most?
My
of
friends.
anything.
I think it's a combination of the people that I surround myself with, but also like I've always kind of been that person to, I think it's also watching influencers or like content creators in my life. Not like content creators, or not like influencers in the sense of like, oh, I have a million following and like I do this, this, and
Yeah.
this, but like content creators of people who do go through the shit, but also like make it to where they are.
Right.
So whether those are like, I think like fitness creators is like a really good one that there's like a bunch of them, like Fonzian on Instagram, and a whole, oh, F Gloria on Instagram. I think he also has a YouTube. Just like, no, or like even people who have like similar lives to you, but they're at in places on that you are, that, well, I cannot English today. They're in similar places that you envision your life to be.
Are there any design trends that you're excited about or really hate right now?
Oh shoot. Honestly, for design trends, no, I don't think there's anything particular that I hate. I think I really do like Bauhaus. Yeah, Bauhaus, minimum. Contemporary design is something that I'm really interested in right now. I I like the gradient. I think I used to like the gradients, and now I'm kind of just like over
Just
it,
over
to
it?
be honest.
I understand that. Me too. I put gradients on everything for way too long, and now
Yeah.
it's like, ugh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the fun of it, but then yeah, no, I think that's staying in 20. I think that's staying in 2024.
Yeah. Okay. What's the most challenging project you've ever worked on? And how did you overcome it?
Like in school, or
Any general?
my most challenging project? I think there's a couple. Oh, definitely that.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I had a flashback. I think definitely like the EIA one.
Yeah.
I think that one was the most challenging. Not necessarily the most challenging in terms of like UI UX design. I mean, definitely like learned a lot there, but I think the most challenging was just like having to step up for a team and literally be the one-stop shop to like lead the team, like trying to mediate. My team was like a whole mess. Well, hopefully, if
This
you're
is
watching
going on
this,
the
there was a lot of conflicts going on. There's a lot
Mm.
of conflicts going on. Lots of like different expectations that I had to mediate. TLDR, basically, we had to go through 3 different life coaches, and there's just like, yeah, different expectations, different thought processes that were happening, and we're basically, there's some people that were like having the same conclusion, but just didn't hear it the way that they were wanting it to be perceived, or the way that they wanted it to be received at all. So just having to like navigate that while abroad, while also considering everyone's mental health and their background slash experience, while still also having to like provide the deliverables that were needed every day. and still have my own personal life. I feel like that was like the hardest thing I've had gone through in 2024.
I think that's very, very valid. I was there. I witnessed the stress, not firsthand, but secondhand. Man, just crashing out every day, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I think at the end you navigated it really well. You still made it to top 10.
Yeah, that was, I kind of expected it and I didn't expect it at the same time. I think like I was relieved, but I think like I also I kind of had no expectations.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew was that like, okay, if I just at least I kind of like went in, I didn't know like anyone's skills honestly in my team at all, like before I even knew them, or like until I didn't know their skills until like after, until like I really asked them like what they wanted to do, or like what they wanted to get out of the program. But I knew that at least like whoever I utilized or whoever could like tell the story the best, or like just were unruthlessly themselves and did not care about what anybody thought, at least I could use that to
Mm-hmm.
the advantage. And I had someone on my team who was
Eva?
just, yes,
Yeah.
who is just like unapologetically themselves and was just like a powerhouse of delivery. And she just killed it. And yeah,
Yeah.
she killed it. And I knew that like I kind of put them in a. So what's funny is that I literally told the team the day or like the day before, I think, like, okay, who wants to tell the story or who wants to pitch? And they all raise their hands. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna put you guys against each other. You guys will all pitch, and I will decide. And usually I also put myself up there too, but
Mhm.
I was just like, no.
No.
And I should probably, in hindsight, I probably like should have made it fair and be like, hey, yeah, maybe I like should also do it myself. But at the same time, I was just like, I really don't need to be doing this right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that would have just been added stress for you.
Yeah. So I put them against each other, and I was just like, we'll all vote on who could tell the best pitch, or who could at least tell the story the best. And they all voted on Ava or Eva. Oh, like Wally. Eva.
Yeah, like
yes,
Wally.
yes.
Yeah.
She would be so proud of me if if she heard that. Yeah, and they all voted Eva, and like she really got the memo when she delivered.
Yes, absolutely she did. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that whole thing is obviously getting to the top 10, a huge testament to her, but also to your management skills.
Yeah.
Because that's,
Thank you.
yeah, that's a struggle to go through. And you came out literally on top.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the biggest mistake you've made so far in your career, and what did you learn from it?
Oh man.
This is gonna be juicy.
It's so hard. I don't think I've like, well, luckily I haven't had any like big mistakes that I've made that were like really bad, but I think sometimes like I think there's like just some reminders that I have. I can't remember like the biggest mistake. I mean, there's like a mistake that wasn't my fault that like a company had done that I was just like, "Ooh, this is like pretty bad," where like we were switching over payment methods for this specific startup that I can't like name, and like it just like messed up like during transfer, and so it pre-authorized prematurely like all these pad payments and like from their bank accounts into the system, and we couldn't reverse it. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
Oh, and like, okay, well, and we couldn't reverse it. And like, it ranged from like $25 to like pretty big numbers to like hundreds of dollars. And we couldn't reverse it. Like, there's no way that we could send it back unless they want to check in the mail. And like, you would not wait for like hundreds of dollars to like be sent to you via check. Like that just wasn't like an option
Mhm.
for us. And so it was literally having to go through hundreds of accounts of businesses and like saying like, hey, this happened, these are the only options that are available. And those options did not include sending the money back to your bank account. And some of these businesses may have not been warm. Like they're cold. Like we sometimes, it was a startup, so like giving grace, like some of these businesses may have not been, they were not active, but they've been pulled. Like the money has been pulled.
Oh.
And so like having to like have that conversation with those businesses, and you're walking like a gray line of like, hey, this happened, these are the only options that are available. Like how do, and also I'm a student, I'm an intern. I'm an intern, okay? So like just having to like navigate that while still being like professional is like one thing. But I think like those were like mistakes, not from my end, but like just like smaller mistakes of like, and luckily it hasn't been like bigger mistakes where I've accidentally like launched a campaign to hundreds of people, which has definitely like, I've seen it happen where you've like, you may have like received an email where it's not your name. Oh, actually, maybe that may have been one. I don't think it, oh no, I've definitely like sent emails to like a client where it was the wrong name.
Oh, just like copy pasted?
Like copy pasted,
Yeah,
because
I've
like
definitely done
it's
that
so
too.
monotonous and you just have to get through so many sometimes, and then you just like, whoops. But like, yeah, it's smaller details like that where sometimes I have to move really quick, but then just having to realize like, and take a step back, like, okay, maybe I should take it a little bit slower, because when you do move that fast, like you don't you're not going to win the race. Like no matter what, like people can wait.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like especially like if you're feeling the pressure, sometimes I just have to like recollect myself and like take some time and understand like they can wait, it'll be okay. It's better if I just take the time and make sure I don't miss any smaller details.
Right.
Otherwise I'm just gonna have to go back from the start and restart everything and do all the things again, when I could just take some extra time and save the time of having to do it again. But yeah, no major like mistakes yet. But I've heard major mistakes from other people, and I think just me asking those questions prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
So far, knock on wood.
No kidding. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. Okay, and kind of on that topic, what's a piece of advice that you wish you'd received earlier in your career?
I have to think about this. I think a piece of advice I wish I received earlier in my career. I think maybe I just like needed more affirmation, but I think it's just being told, and especially if like you're entering corporate, just like knowing that there is truly no. It's better to ask as many questions as you can than like not ask any questions, which I feel like is kind of harder as we get older, or like when you step into a new career, because sometimes as I'm entering a new career, or I'm like or I'm progressing in my career, I feel the need to refrain from asking questions because I think that it may look stupid, or it's that thought of, oh, why is this person asking that question? They're already at this point of their career. But just like, I just have to reaffirm myself that there is truly no stupid question, and it would be great if I was told early in my career just to keep asking questions. And in return, that is way better than withholding your questions, because otherwise, like, no one's going to blame you for not knowing something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're all just master Googlers. I wish it was when I was younger that I was told keep asking all the questions that you need. Like just be curious and like fuck things up. Because I think what they don't say enough is fuck things up. Because otherwise sometimes we try not to, and then we F something up or we make a mistake and we don't tell anyone. Just so like we can, refrain from being in trouble, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I've 100% done that before. I know when I worked at the store, I used to fuck things up all the time. Nobody knew.
Because I think that's how I learn the most when I make a mistake. Oh, to recap, like I think this is what I wish I was told, and then it left my brain.
All right.
Oh, I remember it again. It came back. Make as many mistakes.
Yeah.
Is what I wish I was told. And that is okay because that is the learning opportunity. I wish I was told that. Like I wish it was told with much more conviction than I am being told now in my career. Like even in design studio or any of our other classes, they're like, oh, take risks. But what I don't think what they say enough is, oh, make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the first semester, they were pushing like the failure concept.
Yeah.
Like you should be failing right now. You should not actually failing
Yeah,
classes,
yeah.
obviously, but like you should take this time when you have a safety net to fail as much as you can, so that you fail a bit less when you enter into industry. But obviously, you're still gonna fail.
Yeah.
You're still gonna make mistakes, and they kind of dropped that narrative after the first semester. I found, which
Yeah.
I don't think they should have. I think they should still be enforcing that.
I think they should still be enforcing that. Enforcing that with the sense of like, make mistakes because we're going to give you feedback on how to navigate that. Hence, with that being said, like, make mistakes, but if you're going to make mistakes, at least have a reasoning behind it. Like, you can't just be making mistakes because you're not like.
You can't just be fucking up for fun.
Yeah, you can't just be fucking up for fun.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to make mistakes, something that you at least shouldn't say is, "Oh, I just missed that detail." That's not going to work out in the real world. No. Like if you're missing details and you're just making mistakes because you're not being detail oriented, that's not okay.
Yeah. More so in the end of
more so like, oh, we really tried this plan because we wanted to do something outside of the box and we thought it was going to be okay and we planned it this way, but it turns out that's not what the people wanted. Great, now at least we know that we took the steps and we had a roadmap, but we just had to pivot.
Yeah. There's like valid mistakes, and then there's
like time
laziness.
management. Yeah, there's like laziness, time management mistakes, not being detail oriented mistakes. Those mistakes should not be happening.
Even I would argue on time management mistakes, because my time management, as shit as it is currently, has still improved like tenfold since I started in this program, because people were calling me on my shit. Because I'd hand things in a couple days late, or I'd show up to class consistently like half an hour late.
Yeah.
And people are like, you can't do that. That's not going to fly. And they were actually stern about it.
I think that's totally okay to do. I think it's okay to have time management mistakes. But when it comes to like, when you have bigger stakes on the line,
yes,
then it's not okay.
Yeah.
So for example, I was doing this interview for this marketing agency and the portfolio was under Apple. And I think they said something that you can work on. What I had said, and it didn't fly by my mind that this could be the perception. I said, oh, what I'm trying to work on is my time management skills. And for context, this was the project intern role. So I would be a project delivery intern for the Apple portfolio. I've also worked for Apple before in retail. And so I said, one of the questions was, oh, what is something that you're currently working on? Which was kind of like a curveball question. Like I didn't know they were going to ask that. And so from the top of my head, I said, oh, I'm trying to work on my time management skills. I feel like they're really good, but I feel like sometimes I take on too much. Totally okay that you said take on too much. Not okay that I said time management skills on a project delivery role. The feedback so Critical Mass does give you feedback after your interviews, which I think is like great. What they said was like, yeah, when you said time management skills, that was kind of like a red flag for them. So I think it's okay to have time management skill issues, but then when it comes to like higher stake things, which I understand, like, okay, maybe that might have not been the best thing to say, then like it's like not okay. Yeah.
No, absolutely, I agree. That's I think why it's best to get it out of the way now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think it's like when you're in your 20s, like, yeah, like F up everywhere. I'm still effing up. I think like effing up with tact is more
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, do it gracefully.
Like doing it gracefully.
Don't just crash and burn.
Don't
and
just
then
like
never
crash and
make a
burn and
comeback.
never like make a comeback.
Or actually put effort into taking the feedback that's given to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, word. Let's talk about the design industry as a whole for a minute. Where do you see the role of user experience designers going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, we actually had to talk about this. So I went to Platform Calgary. For those who don't know, it's a parkade in Calgary that turned into like a business office with like all those. It's concrete, but what people actually don't know is that um, it looks like a shell. So you have the skeletons. So just like literally like small quick backstory. It looks like a skeleton for a reason. So they wanted it to be a multi-purpose space, and so it's a parkade, but it's also an office space. It's a shell though, so you still have like the outer layer of concrete. What people don't know is that because they still wanted it to be a multi-purpose space in the future where Calgary is still where there's like more people living in downtown, the parkade can actually turn into an apartment.
No way.
So you can actually take out like all the steel surroundings of it, and could be repurposed to be like a building, like a full-on building.
That's really neat.
Yeah. So it's like that's a little like backstory in that. But anyway, so I went to Platform Calgary, sorry. And there was an event going, and somebody from Adobe in the AI role came in, and we were able to speak to him. And they were talking about like customer experience and like artificial intelligence. And I brought up the sense of like UI UX design. And because a lot of the generation now, although there's like a lot of Gen Z, will in our lifetime will have the biggest amount of retirees. Like everyone is like going to be retiring during like our parents are retiring as we speak. And so we are talking about like the future of AI and like user interface and customer experience, because us being in the customer experience roles or like design roles now, we're not just designing for ourselves, but we're actually going to be designing for like the older demographic. So like people over 60, as that will be like the biggest population of like, so it'll be us working, and then the rest of the population is all retired.
Yeah.
So we're not technically helping like millennials anymore. We're helping like the older people instead. And so we were speaking that we'll be using AI and we'll be designing not just for like aesthetic reasons, but more so for functionality. So a lot of it will like pivot to how can we get a balance of like still serving like what we want, but actually more so like how do we actually serve the older demographic for them to like still use as they are still functional and at least like serve a purpose, and not just be like have gradients everywhere. Because when you have like, let's say, accessibility needs for your vision, you like that doesn't quite work out if you're using like gradients everywhere and it's like all fancy. Like it needs to be a little bit more like purposeful, like functional than that. So that's where I think where design is going to be heading.
Yeah.
So it's like right now I feel like we're in that era, being like going against the grain, which is great, and like being being innovative in that way. But I feel like we're going to transition into something more like how can we be more like functionable and serve like for the older demographic is where I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that statement. I think though also being able to still incorporate those fun elements but have them have a meaning using like psychology skills, whatever, color relation theory skills, that can also be of benefit to help tell a longer story in fewer words. So keeping that in mind, but then also that's a smaller box to work within. So it requires a lot more excessive creativity, which
I think it's going to be like more intentional for sure.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There won't just be fun little things that are just
fun
there.
little things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, everything will have a meaning. And I think that's the way it should be, to kind of tear down the bridge between art and design. Because I think that's a big difference that a lot of people don't have a full grasp on, is that art is meant to be pretty. Not everything
Mhm.
has to have a meaning, or things can be interpreted differently. But when you're designing, you have to think of how every single person that's going to see this is going to look at it, and it's just a lot more purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Thank you.
What do you think was missing about our conversation? I always fuck up that question. I always say it wrong. Wow, we're like mirroring each other sitting. That's so cute. No, it's my knee problems. You're so real for that.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. What would you say was missing from our conversation about design today?
What is missing from what do you think is missing from our conversation today?
I wrote the questions, so obviously I would not have any qualms about moving into the fun, personal side of things. Tell us about your rug making business.
Oh, Tuft Grove?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that was a year ago, actually. Now that I think about it, yeah, I think it's like I literally just got a highlight on Instagram. It was like one of the rugs that I first made. Is the Stussy rug, which is so funny because my first rug was I kept getting DMs about it on like how much I was selling it for, even though that was like my first rug. So I was I was like, this one's not for sale actually. There's like a lot of mistakes with it. But yeah, so that was like made. That was executed during last year of January because I was like, I just saw it on TikTok and I was like, oh, I think this would be really great and creative, something that I could do with my hands because I feel like there's a lot of digital things I do, but I just like always liked creating things with my hands. So without much research, I just bought it and then I was like, okay, yeah, I like it and I want to do it. Have I been consistent with it? Nope, but that's because of school. So
Yeah,
now we're
fair.
getting back into it.
Right. I respect that, the element of just like not really knowing much about anything,
Yeah.
but just like jumping into it because you want to. Because I feel like I have a good grasp on how to do that, and I wish more people in the world were able to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's fun and it brings like little joys into your life.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize just how much you're actually capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think I like it because it's not something that I have to think too much about, if that makes sense. I kind of just like sketch the art and I don't have to think about too much of the creation process because I just do it after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tuft Grove linked here.
Thank you.
Please follow. Buy a rug. How much do you sell rugs for?
It depends. So I just have to see the art, but usually it's around 150 to 150 and over.
So Tuft Grove has two sister companies, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so there's Tuft Grove and there's also the Grove Agency, which is my freelancing section.
Where did your love for the word grove come from?
That's a good question. Now that I think about it, I think, well, one of my favorite colors is green. And when I think of like green, I think of like forest and shrubs. And there's like this whole thing with like growing and fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I touched on this earlier in the episode, but I used to work at Apple. And so um, there's like different sections in the store that we have. So for example, operations, which is like in the back or like the back rooms and like retail, we call it backstage. And on the floor, we call it product zone. And there's like obviously Genius Bar, but there's also another section in select retail Apple stores where they just have this thing called a grove. And it's literally a section in the store where you can kind of like just hang out and just like shrubs and trees and like you can literally like just chill there. And I think it's the section is specifically more so like if you're wanting to receive like assistance to like set up your iPhone. I forgot. It's been a while. But that's kind of where I took that concept. And like I just like really appreciate like growing in fruition, I guess. So that's where I took the
Aw.
word grow.
That's so
Yeah.
that's so wholesome. I love
So
that
that's
answer.
like the hidden meaning behind
Yeah.
everything.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Aw. Just holding space for that right now. That's so sweet. Okay. So what's your favorite piece you've ever created?
Like for dance or
For anything.
oh,
If you want to answer for dance, that works.
I think my like pieces heard piece and then that's why I was like for dance because we called things like different pieces like oh
Yeah.
I think my favorite piece is the one that I taught by oh there's two but I think my favorite one is I forgot the name of the song already but it's by the singer artist called Thames. Yes, it's Thames. I had to like fact check myself. I was like, ain't no way I don't remember. But it's a choreography I made. That choreography was the one I taught in Seattle.
Oh,
It
cool.
was my first time teaching like okay, some people might like totally demote this, but like internationally, I guess.
It's international.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a brief intermission and play Chris's demo reel.
My name is Chris Nicdao, and I have been part of the Eastside Dance Festival in 2016 and 2017. Today, I am choreographing for Father Lacombe, and I've also been able to travel and compete across Canada, as well as teach in the United States as well. For Eastside Dance Festival, if there was one word to really sum everything up, I would say that it's really euphoric because you get to be in this similar space with like-minded people and a great opportunity to really learn from your peers and take training from a bunch of whole different styles. The most important lesson I've learned is to never give up. We are truly our hardest critics. Really knowing who you are, being passionate about it, and to always just get back on your feet. Keep on training, keep on learning, take in, and just be a sponge.
I think when I didn't know that I was going to get like this opportunity during that. I think I just like turned I was 20 and I think I just turned 21. But this opportunity to like teach internationally in Seattle, I felt like there's like a lot of imposter syndrome that was like going on. Like I remember just like being at the airport and I was like calling people who I looked up to because I just like had this feeling of like, oh, like I'm so unworthy. Like there's so many people who are better than me that should be probably having this opportunity and they probably like a bunch of like all this a bunch of feelings where it's like this whole feeling concept of like unworthiness. Um but it's just like really reframing that into seeing it as like a learning opportunity where it's like my first time and I think it's also carries that weight of it's my first time teaching internationally and there are people who are paying for this class and USD dollars where I am now in the hands of their learning experience.
Yeah.
And so like taking that on and like acknowledging that was just like also like I wouldn't necessarily call it a weight. Like I don't think that's the right word, but that it's almost like I guess that almost that expectation, like, oh, it is my responsibility to give them like the best that I can, and I don't want to fail these kids or like adults because they're like a lot older, or like the community there is like a lot older there. But that piece I think like holds a special place in my heart because it's
Oh.
my first time teaching
Yeah.
internationally.
And that's such a big, like, big is an understatement. That's a huge accomplishment
Yeah.
to be asked to do that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I had that opportunity through one of my friends that I met through an online program that I took during COVID, and we're still like super close today. But the program itself was a temp program, and he's still a really good friend of mine. He like goes on tour and everything. He's like super nice and cool. He
Oh,
teaches in LA, so yeah,
that's so sick.
yeah. Thanks, Tristan. Huh.
Cool. That's so fun.
Thanks.
What are your goals for 2025?
I remember
Anything as big and lofty as that?
well, I guess traveling the world, but I think
Mhm.
for 2025, man, there's so many. There's so many goals. They're like separated by the different things I'm doing in my life. But I think like one of the oh yeah, definitely like I'll say two. So one big one is definitely to do like Story Hive. I think like that's something that's just like a little side quest that I really like want to do and accomplish and kind of direct.
Yeah.
Because I miss that sense of like being able to direct the project. But I think like another goal is just this. I feel like when people hear this, they're like, "What?" I think it's just like more so being accountable for myself. So, so it's like it's more so fitness related. It's just like kind of being accountable for my fitness because I've always say like one of my goals is always like, oh, like I'll lose like 5, 10 pounds or whatever. Um, and somehow usually it translates to something else. Like, yeah, I'm still fit. Like doing like I ran a half marathon or last year, which is like such a big accomplishment in itself too. But I always tell myself like, oh, I'm going to lose like 5 or 10 pounds, and it never happens. And it's not because like it never happens in the sense of like I'm like pushing it away, but I just really want to have a little bit more discipline and accountability because I'm saying these things, but I'm not actively like partaking in it. Like, sure, yes, like it still translates somehow in like me being fit in other activities and taking on other things. But I forgot where I heard this concept of, but it's just like when you say, let's say, for example, you're going to the gym tomorrow and you don't do it, you are not respecting yourself. Like you're not showing up for yourself. And so like yeah, like and I take that yes with also a grain of salt, but like there is some like weight to that when I hear that and I tell myself these things that I want to do that will inevitably like be better for myself and I don't do it and I told myself I was going to, it's kind of like, oh, you kind of really did fail yourself. Like you really didn't do what you told yourself you're going to do. Like, and yeah, like sure, it's a little bit different because it's not someone else. But even if it was someone else though, like, and you didn't show up, it still holds the same effect. We're just taking it like less seriously because it's ourselves, if that makes sense. That's
Side
probably
story.
such a big call
Side
out, but
story.
like
Every time I hang out with Chris, he slaps me in the face with some shit like that about self-respect, and then I have to reevaluate my entire life. So, welcome to my crisis for the next 2 weeks. Actually showing up for myself. Anyways, moving on. If you could redesign any brand or app or website, what would it be?
wait, if I could redesign?
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool, which is so funny because like I ended up like working for these companies for like some capacity. But I would really like to work under Apple in their like design and what? In their design team or UX UI team.
Yeah.
So I recently like I went to the Apple store with Tina and the pals and I tried on the Apple Vision Pro and usually I never tried on the Apple Vision Pro just because like I don't really feel the need to. But after I tried it, I was like, wow, I can't believe like this is the start of okay, well not necessarily the start because I've been trying to make it for the longest time, like other companies have, but this is literally the start for augmented reality. And honestly, even like you don't even have to have the money or whatever. If you have time in your day, like 30 minutes out of your day to go to an Apple store and try on an Apple Vision Pro, I recommend it. Like I think like everyone should try it out because it's just like I can't believe that's truly the start and that's what they produced. So they have like spatial photos and spatial videos and it's just like it really put me in shock because it's like wow, I can't believe like yeah, sure, like of course it's Apple. Like yeah, it's like that bar for them.
Yeah.
Like but like when you see it, it's so hard to describe because when you see it in person and you're like, it's truly like, oh shit, wow, like we're really here. So, and it feels so real, but the spatial video. So basically, you know how we see things and like, and there's depth to it.
Mhm.
when you put in that VR set, I guess, for the lack of better words,
Yeah.
it literally looks the same.
Wow.
Like, and not just the sense of like, okay, like you see a photo and it's like, yeah, it looks the same, like like no, like there's
It's
actually
like you're living it?
it looks like you're living it.
Wow.
Again. Yeah.
That quality, I feel, is going to be so amazing for even parents who are becoming empty nesters
Yeah.
and things.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, like that would be such
That's
an amazing
actually how
gift.
that's actually how they positioned it in the what?
Market.
Like, yeah, that's actually how they positioned the demo. So for Apple Vision Pro, they literally said, you're like, yeah, do you ever just want to like experience something or like relive a moment or like relive something with your like lost loved ones? And when they positioned it, I was just like, wow, like, yeah, that'd be so sweet.
Last section, rapid fire section. My favorite section of the entire show. What's your favorite font or typeface?
Helvetica.
Word. As you should. And favorite color combo?
Color combo?
Mm.
Oh, yellow and green. Like the shade of yellow and green. Like a mustard yellow and a forest green.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I see the vision now. I was thinking, so I was like,
No.
okay. And if you could work for any company or client in the world, who would it be and why?
I was gonna say Apple, but I low-key want to try Spotify. I feel like Spotify would be
Ooh.
really cool because I'm working with like music artists and I just love
Right.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be super cool. And what is your go-to beverage while you're working?
Wait, for some reason I was thinking alcoholic beverage.
Beer.
like a good every vodka. My go-to beverage while I'm working, honestly, can't go wrong with like a nice like wait. Like a matcha, like a mango matcha. Like, yeah.
Word. Okay.
Mango matcha.
Yeah. Banger. Good answer. Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course, anytime. Chris will also be back in season 2, as will all of our guests so far, because I love these people and they will just always be here. So that's wonderful. Please follow all of Chris's socials. They are linked here, but also say them out loud for the people who are only listening to the audio.
At NBCDAO on Instagram. And that's my handle everywhere.
And at Tuft Grove on Instagram.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Support small businesses. Also, don't forget to follow digitaldopamine.podcast on Instagram and on YouTube. And also follow my personal Instagram at Riley Milena Schmitz.
Awesome.
And I think that's everything. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya.